Yo, 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 what up, everybody?
Yo,
Let
yo.
us know that
Hey,
you can hear us.
hey.
We got Josh here. Josh is going to be helping out with the Defcee interview tonight. This is my guy. He's the one who originally asked Defcee for an interview first, so I couldn't not have my boy in here. And I know he's got some good questions. He's a huge hip hop fan. Helped me start a lot with Talkin Truth. So everybody, say what up to Josh. Tell him
Yo, yo.
thank you for participating tonight. I know he's excited. I'm excited. We're about to send this link to the chat. I'm gonna get Def C invited here right now. Copy link invite. Boom, boom. Sending him the invite on Twitter right now, and then he'll be joining us. So, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing in the chat? How you doing tonight, Josh? What have you been up to today?
Man, I'm over here living a good life, relaxing, taking it easy. Can't really beat it, you know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah! All right, he's
About
already
to
here.
roll up some of this OG.
Here we go.
Let's get it.
I knew that was gonna happen. Sorry, we can just switch the names around real quick. Boom. Hey, hey. What's going
Yo, what's
on?
good, guys?
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Appreciate you coming on tonight, taking time out of your day to come and chat with us, man. Super appreciate it.
Hey,
This is awesome.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
y'all asking me, man. Thank
Hell
you very
yeah,
much.
Yeah.
for sure. You're super respected in the Chicago hip hop community, and we want more people to know about your shit. So, uh, this is perfect opportunity. I appreciate you
Yeah.
stopping by and introduce yourself to the Twitch chat.
What's good, everybody? My name's Defcee. I'm a rapper from River Forest, Illinois, originally, which is a suburb of Chicago. I've been putting out music since I was 17, been recording since I was 14. I'm a teacher in the Chicagoland area of high school freshmen, and I also co-facilitate MC Rec Shop with Ad2, who's a Chicago legend. Put out one of the best albums of the year last year, Jim Crow the Musical. I'm in a couple of crews, so Future Cult Leaders of America, Sky Mob, and shout out to my big brothers, Tomorrow Kings. Shout out to my family in Pivot Gang. And
Yay.
yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Hell yeah, that's a dope intro. That's probably one of the best intros we've gotten on the on the
That was
on
a
the Twitch
dope
stream
intro,
so
man.
far. Honestly,
Well, I've been listening to a whole bunch of podcasts today, just
oh yeah.
getting ready, getting my interview game on point.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What else you been up to recently since like the COVID shit started? Has it haltered any of your creativity? Is it picked up or how's that treating you?
I mean, to be honest, I recorded vocals for about 4 different projects since the pandemic started.
Oh wow. Okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah, a bunch of stuff that I'm sure you guys are going to ask about it a little bit later, but a bunch of stuff I've been working on for a minute. A bunch of new stuff, new opportunities that kind of popped up last minute. And I think there have been moments during the pandemic where I just haven't had my schedule structured in the way that I needed to. I think if you're a teacher, you work a 9 to 5 where you're used to being in person, having those one-on-one conversations with people, or having that set schedule for your week. My apologies. You're used to having that set schedule for your week. It's very difficult when that schedule is taken away from you to then structure your day. So one of the things that I've kind of been struggling with is, I'll have these periods of kind of hyper productivity, and then I'll miss a day or I'll take a day off, and then suddenly that day off turns into 2 3 days, 4 days, and then I haven't written anything. So I think a lot of it too is just trying to listen to music as well as create just kind of as often as possible, so that I'm constantly, I have that energy. It's like a muscle. If I'm putting up shots in the gym every day, my jump shot is going to look nice. But, if I'm just working on my post game, that's the only thing that's going to be effective. So I'm just trying to also branch out. I've been listening to a lot of music that I haven't really gone in depth on with the time as well. So, just listening to like Young Thug and Future's back catalog, um, and just trying to, stay in tune with the underground hip hop stuff, which just seems to be moving at an even quicker pace than it had been. Because I feel like, you know, listen to an Arm & Hammer album, 2 weeks later, it's a Makami album or something from Griselda's out. And not to mention the homies like Iceberg Theory, who's been putting out a lot of work this year. So yeah, I mean, just trying to stay current with all that. And then, you know, the other thing, the most important thing is I got married a few weeks ago, which has been fantastic.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations, man. Yeah.
Thank you. So
awesome.
a lot of wedding planning and then wedding, you know, like adjustments and replanning. But, you know, like that was the best weekend of my life. So it's been, I've definitely been busy during the pandemic for sure. Not as creatively busy as I may like, but still busy with things that make me happy and bring me joy.
That's awesome, dude.
Life,
congrats on the awesome marriage and the weekend. That's good to hear. Because I mean, during this time, I'm planning my wedding for next month, and so I know how it can be like weird. Man. So like that is awesome to hear you had a good time. I'm glad. My
thoughts and best wishes to you and the bride to be, because I think that was one of the things that we didn't necessarily anticipate at first when the pandemic hit. It was like in the back of our minds, and then within a month or two, it kind of became a reality. So it took a lot of figuring out how we felt about things and if we wanted to move forward. Anyway, suffice it to say, as long as y'all keep the faith, as long as you're in communication, and as long as, you know, you guys really think hard about the best way to do it and keep everybody safe and healthy, you know, and fortunately for us, you know, all of our family and friends who were there, well, actually it was nothing but family there, all are healthy, you know, a few weeks later. So, you know, my thoughts and best wishes with you and your family, because I know it's tough, but I think y'all will definitely, it'll be even more beautiful than you'd imagine. Trust me.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What you got, Josh? I know you got some questions. What you thinking over there?
Really, I want to start off, man. I remember the first time I heard you. It was off of it was a slime track. I was just telling the homie about it.
Army Jacket Line.
You got it, yes, sir. I mean, that shit. It just took me to another level, because I haven't heard a deliverance that strong and powerful in a while. And I know that track was older too, but I just caught on to it, and I was hooked just like that.
Word. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that was one of those joints. I mean, when me and you know, there was a very special era of that music garage space. So for people who don't know about it, there's a big building in the West Loop called the Music Garage that essentially holds a bunch of different studios. So former factory, they, you know, redid it. They did that with Fort Knox as well, which is another studio compound in the city. And Solar 5, shout out to him, and Slime 64 and Sean Peace. And actually, I think Lee vs. Tree as well, shout out to him. I think they all had different, you know, they were just running studio sessions for people. They all had keys. We had for a little bit Sky Mob Sundays, where it would just be like, all right, we're all here. What are we working on today? Which is dope. So you have people like me, people like Slime 64, people like Solar 5, Speedy Calhoun, Showbiz, aka Keith Harris, who's the frontman for Pocket Radio, I think is the name of his group. Wally West. I don't know if I mentioned Angel Davenport already. I probably did, but you know, also just a incredibly ferocious MC, and it was just a really cool experience of being able to lock in and just cook. And there was one day I came in, and it was literally me, Slime, and I think there was one other person there, and we were just chilling in front of the computer, just freestyling the beats, like just off the head. And then he played that one off of either the computer or the SP. And I was just like, yo, we got to load that up. Like, we got to go right now. We got to get this done. And that song just came together so organically. And I think one of the beautiful things about that space, so all of the mixtape as God Intended Volume 1 was recorded there in like a 2-hour session, all of my parts at least. You know, Solar
Wait,
5.
the whole project was recorded there in 2 hours?
Just not, cause I don't want to make it seem like I got the drops in. Like I'm not that.
Cause that's a whole other topic, man. That project is fire, man.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic.
So I recorded like all my verses there. Like there are some classic Mick Jenkins joints that were recorded there. Like it was just a really beautiful space, and very laid back. And I think also just it was cool because you know, I'm a big Gangstar fan, and DJ Premier is one of my favorite producers of all time. I think he's the greatest. And, you know, just those stories about his D&D studios, which later became headquarters in New York, where you had MOP was working, and then Smith & Wesson, and then Biggie, and then to just like hear all of those stories about legendary spots like that. We didn't really know what we had at the time, but I think in retrospect, those were really, really beautiful times that we had. And I think the new situations that we all have are pretty awesome as well. But that was definitely a very special period of time when that space was open, for sure.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate that.
So that's the story of the song. And I freestyled the last 2 bars, which lets me lying about shooting the horse off of polo stitches or whatever.
Shooting the horse off your polo stitches.
Shooing the horse off your polo stitches.
So hey, yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, man. I mean, just with that track alone, it was just so many bars and just a lot of quotables that I couldn't even keep track after about 10, 15 seconds into it. And that's kind of how it was with the whole mixtape, you know, as God Intended. That's a fire project, man.
Thank you.
Fire project.
Yeah, that was one of the first projects that I ever listened to that was like just straight 15, 16 minutes of like, it didn't, I don't know. It was just like that was one of the first projects I listened to that I felt like that. Or I feel like there's probably been some that.
The whole setup was perfect.
It felt like one track. Like it didn't feel like, I mean, obviously you knew there were different parts, but it just felt like one cohesive, like, just ball of greatness. I don't know how else. I can't think of the words that I want to use right now, but that's the best I can describe it.
Nah, that's love, man. Thank you. And I think for me it was a couple of things. It was an homage to structure it that way. It was obviously an homage to, you know, Tony Touch and Doo-Wop and Clue and Ron G and Kid Capri. So all of these different OGs who made mixtapes in the 80s and 90s, and you might have, you know, the Tony Touch 50 MC tapes. It was literally a mixtape of 50 MCs. Each of them had like 16 bars on the beat to just go in. And around the time I was kind of cooking all that up, I was super deep in the, you know, classics. I'm a huge rap battle nerd. So I was back in my bag of like old Smack DVD, Loaded Lux, T-Rex.
You used to host those ciphers
watching
too, didn't
those
you?
battles. I used to host which ciphers? I'm sorry.
I forget the name of them, but I remember seeing it on YouTube. He was hosting some ciphers with I saw Femdot on there.
Oh, I hosted
nasty too.
Yeah. Yeah, I hosted a battle event. That was like a one-time thing 5 years ago. That's crazy that you said that. Damn. Yeah, it was a one-time thing.
Fire, right?
It was just kind of like we had the capacity for it. It was at a time when I think battle rap in Chicago didn't necessarily have a home. And so we just kind of got people together and did it, which was really dope. But back to the tape. So I'm watching all these battles. I'm watching ciphers. I'm watching like the Funk Flex freestyles, all that. And I'm just sitting around and I just have this energy where, you know, I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna write a mixtape in a week. And then it went from that being a week to like several months of me just like, you know, I spent that whole summer of 2017 just kind of trying to write a verse a day. And then when I got to the end of that summer, I pretty much looked up and I had all of this material. There are bars in there from 10 years ago that was just like, all right, cool. Like I finally have the opportunity to use this in a rhyme. And so I just kind of put it all together, and it was dope because I think I've done, if you go back to my earliest projects, I think I've done the whole rap battle thing, but I think I only really saw that one way, which was like set up, punchline, set up, punchline, set up, punchline. So you hear a 16-bar verse and you might get 8 crazy bars out of it, but not much replay value because I'm just standing and delivering, and I'm not, you know, trying to lure you in with the flow and do all that. So I think that also was the goal for that mixtape. You know, if you watch those old Too Raw for the Streets videos, which is like the Philly DVD that predated Smack, that, you know, I was just watching, they had like a Fred the Godson, rest in peace, battle on there from like 2004. But just that energy, you know, listening to a bunch of Lock stuff and just kind of going in. So that was really the catalyst behind the whole tape. And, you know, as far as the structure, it was an homage to growing up and making those tapes, staying up and making a recording of DJ Ferris Mix Show at 9 on Power 92. And just being able to sit down and listen to a straight mix of music and not have to worry about skipping anything because it was all new and it was all exciting. So I think that was the energy I really tried to capture on that tape.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could hear it too, and every single bar was so concise. You know, it just, I think that's what made it so perfect. So you could definitely hear it, and I appreciate it too.
Word, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And that was the first project I dropped where it really felt like the impact matched what I wanted. And I've been making music, and I've been making music. At that point, I've been making music for, you know, 15 years. So to get to the point where it's, you know, finally something is being, everybody else is hearing what I'm hearing, that was so rewarding and a great feeling and gave me the confidence to push forward for sure.
Does that make it harder for you to like put music out, seeing as you said that was like one of the first ones that was released and kind of felt like you wanted it to? Does that make it more difficult for you to put something out, or are you just like, fuck it, this is what I made, it's good, I want to put it out even if it's not received like I want it to?
That's a good question. I would say that for a long time, and I think this happens to all young MCs at a certain point, especially if you're the 16 or 17-year-old kid in the cypher who people are like, yo, he's nice. I think that there's a reluctance to really expand what you do, and also a reluctance to take full accountability for where you want to be as an MC or an artist, or how you want your work to be received. So I say that to say, I think there was a point in time at which I was only really trying to connect with people who were into the stuff that was popping out of Chicago. So, you know, I started making a lot of very like center field music, not in terms of the quality of it, but in terms of I'm trying to reach everybody. So Damn Near Grown, that album that I put out, I think was reflective of, you know, I want to do this song that's a posse cut with all of these incredible rappers on it so that people are drawn into the project, and then they're going to listen to the rest of what I have to do, and then they'll rock with that as well. But I think when you make, I'll speak for myself, because I think some people are able to make music with the general public in mind and are really able to succeed off of that. Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, I think when I'm making something that's true to me, and I'm not considering whether or not I want people to feel it, and I'm just kind of like, man, forget all this. Like, you're gonna feel what I'm about to put out. I think when I'm in that mode, it's received the way I want it to be. So that kind of pushes me to keep making music. And then I think when I put something out and people don't respond in the way that I want to, I think that actually hinders my productivity for a little bit, because then your self-esteem takes a hit. But then, you know, when it comes back to bouncing back and really writing, I think at that point, you just, you know, you listen to a whole bunch of music, and then you're just, you know, you do the research and do the knowledge on people, like you know, people like Kai and Rock Marciano and Billy Woods in the early, you know, in the early to mid 2010s were making the kind of music that kind of uncompromising music that was just so true to them. And then at that point, it kind of became about, you know what, I'm gonna just make music for me, and I'm gonna go get a regular job, like a 9 to 5, to kind of support the music that I want to do, and you know, so that everything that I do is organic and none of it feels forced, none of it feels like a get rich quick scheme. Like I'm just making the music I want to make because I want to hear it, and then that tends to be when it impacts other people as well. So
that's awesome.
I hope that wasn't too long-winded. I'm sorry.
Not at all.
I have to talk this stuff all the time and never talk about it. So
Perfect.
Not at all. This is what this is for. I mean, they usually last. These interviews last around an hour and a half. So I mean,
okay, perfect.
This is what our viewers love, man. They love when the artists talk and just this is great. This is exactly what we're looking for. So long-winded is good. It's not a bad thing. Get all your thoughts and getting your truths out there, man. Speaking, I heard you talking about like growing up a little bit in one of your previous answers. What is one of you think the most important lessons that you learned as a kid growing up?
You know, my dad used to tell me all of these old kind of Jewish folk tales where you know, the moral of the story is you got to do what you need to do to survive without hurting the people you love. Mm-hmm. And I think that was definitely a message I grew up with. You know, there are other lessons I had to learn. Like I'm the oldest of 3, but I've always kind of been more independent. So I've always been off kind of doing my own thing. So something that I learned as a kid that I'm in the process of unlearning now as an adult, and especially as somebody who's somebody's, you know, life partner, is, you know, as long as I take care of me, I'll be straight. And I think that for a long time was kind of a very poisonous mindset that I had in a lot of ways, but that was something that I just kind of learned growing up the way that I did. Another thing that I learned, one of the most important things that I learned was from my father, who just, you know, and he didn't do this intentionally, and he probably regretted it when I was old enough to talk back, but, you know, just never refusing to question powerful people. I think that was something that, you know, my dad, for better or for worse, usually had conversations with me when I was a kid that were probably at least like 2 to 3 grade levels above where I was reading at, but were things that really informed me and how I perceive the world.
That's awesome.
Even how I engage in conversation. So those are all different things that I can think of immediately that I picked up. And then another thing that I learned when I was like 10 years old was that, you know, the police are not everybody's friend. So just in the spirit of kind of having these conversations, and again, this is, you know, when you consider what just happened in Kenosha and what's continuing to happen worldwide, when you have, you know, these police departments just continuing to act with impunity and commit violence indiscriminately against Black and brown people. You know, there's always this narrative when you grow up in a suburb like where I grew up that the cops are your friends, or, you know, this is just a few bad apples. But when I was 10 years old, we were talking about police brutality in the context of Amadou Diallo getting shot 40 times outside of his apartment for reaching for his wallet. So, you know, that was something that was really, for me, instrumental in shaping my worldview. And it's a major reason why I think conversations that we have about police brutality and police violence today and abolishing the police are important ones to have, because, you know, I was a 10-year-old who read a headline in the New York Times and asked my dad a question, and he was honest with me. Not everybody else was going to be doing that. But now that we have young people who have more access to education, more access to, you know, those supplemental educational resources they need to really do the knowledge themselves and do the research, You know, I think it's really important to also cite the moments in our lives when, you know, we realize that institutional racism and systemic racism could have legal consequences like police brutality. So that started for me when I was 10 years old, and it's something that I carry with me to this day.
Dang, that's super important. I'm really glad you brought that up because we've tried to use this platform as a medium to, you know, bring stuff up like that as well. So it's crazy that at 10 years old, I mean, how old are you now?
I just had my birthday a few days ago, and I will say that I am north of 30 and south of 40.
Okay, so you know, yeah, that's 10 years ago is a significant, like that's a significant amount of time. Like even for me at 10 years old, I'm almost 30 myself. Like that's almost 20 years ago. Like that shit's crazy that we're still talking about that stuff today, and it still applies. And like something that you learned is still having, like you're still trying to educate people about something that you learned at 10 years old. Like that's mind blowing to me. And like, how does that feel? Like how does that make you feel that something that you learned that young, and people are like older than you and still just can't get it?
I mean, if you really study the history of the police in America, you'll realize that a lot of the policies and practices are essentially extended from slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it happened 20 years ago and we're still talking about it, but it also happened centuries ago and we still have to talk about it because the consequences of that are still at play every day. And I think as a white person, you know, my feelings about that, you know, I think our job as white people should be to listen, learn, and then take what we learn to other white people. Right. So, you know, it's for those of us who know better, and for those of us who know that we know that we don't know anything at all. You know, this is a lifelong process. You know, I'm never gonna stop learning. I'm never gonna be perfect. I'm never gonna be halfway perfect about race when I'm talking about race or when we talk about police brutality. But, you know, ultimately, I think it makes me really sad because I think we've, as a country, fooled ourselves into thinking that we're more progressive than we are. And so what that means is that people get really complacent, and it allows for power vacuums like the one that Donald Trump currently occupies. Oh my God. And it also, you know, it also kind of allows for, there to be a lot of unchecked brutality as well. So, you know, it's important for, like I was saying before, there to be as many people as educated and aware as they can possibly be, particularly in the white community, because the burden of that has been placed on Black and brown people for too long. And so now I think it's about white people really, you know, addressing the disarray in our house and figuring out how to fix it. And there are going to be some people who aren't interested in that, but you can't waste your time or energy trying to convince them otherwise because they're already set in their ways. Like, for sure, if you're the kind of person who lives in a state that fought for the Union and you have a Confederate flag, like there's nothing I can really do to help you out. Yeah. But the thing is, like, reaching the people who those guys could potentially try to reach. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's how I feel. Is like, if you're white, like, the work is never done for us because it can't ever be done for us if we expect to really reach the utopia that we've, you know, the utopic melting pot that we've claimed this country has been forever, but what it's never been.
Awesome. Yeah. Man, what drew you to be a teacher? Because I gotta say, man, any student that comes through your classroom has got to be like one of the luckiest kids in the world, bro. Like you, like seriously, you're like one of the most down to earth individuals in the world. Like you clearly have a fucking grasp of what's going on in the world. Like I'm so thankful that you personally like are in that system and are educating people like of the youth. Like that like makes me really happy that like somebody like you is educating the youth out there and like getting the right words out there. I know you can't be too political in school and stuff, but I mean, I know you seem to be very good with words. Like you're very well spoken. So I know that like you're able to get a positive message out to those kids in some way. So I mean, what drew you to be a teacher exactly? What made you want to do that?
So, I mean, when I was 14, they had just started this program at my high school called the Spoken Word Poetry Program. And the guy who ran that program eventually became my mentor. And I realized, in a lot of ways, he saved my life. And so I realized that the only way that I could pay him back is to pay it forward. So that's one thing that's always kind of been in my mind. If I want to get kind of into the hip hop element of it, I think the informal mentorship that happens within hip hop communities is a really powerful thing that impacted me and did a lot for me. Just because I had virtually no self-esteem when I was a kid. There was a lot of suicidal ideation. So it was I also as a kid didn't necessarily deserve the kindness that I was shown, but people understood enough about me and believed in me enough to know that I wasn't somebody who should be written off at 14 or 15 years old because, I have a C+ average. Mm-hmm. And so I think and the other thing that was important too was having adults in my life who validated my interests and the things that I cared about. So I think that I wanted to do that for other people. And that's why I became a teacher. And then also, my homie Jair, shout out to Jair, who I went to college with our freshman year. I still have a very vivid memory of being in his dorm room and talking to him about Guilty Simpson, who's a great rapper from Detroit, but also just like, it's a very 2007 underground hip hop moment where I'm in my homie's dorm room trying to talk to him about rap music, like underground rap music.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and he was like, you know what, man? If you don't become a teacher, all this knowledge is going to get wasted. And it was something that struck a chord with me. It was something that struck a chord with me because, shout out to Jair. He was kind of a wild dude. And, he used to crack a lot of jokes. He was the life of the party. So for him to say something that seriously to me and to really mean it because he meant it, it was something I carried with me to this day. So that was kind of confirmation that what I'm doing now is what I'm meant to do with my life.
Oh, yeah,
so that's awesome. What made me want to become a teacher.
That's tight. We do have I've never experienced this before, but Zoom just popped a note up that said I only had 10 minutes left because there's only like a 40-minute limit now or some shit. So
it's all good.
5 minutes we can reset. Yeah, we'll end the call in like 5 minutes after one more question. Josh, why don't you ask one more question, then we'll end the call and restart this thing up.
Yeah, cool. So with the project Lacuna, I know we skipped up because with the conversation just made me think of it. But 25 milligrams, man, that's probably one of the deepest. I'll let you go ahead and get into that one because it got me. So I'll let you get into
it. Yeah. I mean, 25 milligrams. So the basic story of it is when I was a kid, I still have ADD. It was back when it wasn't just, a different kind of ADHD. It was an entirely different thing because I wasn't hyperactive. So they were prescribing me a bunch of different they offered a bunch of different medications. I'd been seeing child psychologists since I was 9 years old. And Adderall it sounded like was the one I could use for whatever reason. Ritalin didn't sound good. And then I think there was like Concerta, or there was some other ADHD medication that was in development, but there was a risk of liver damage, and I was 10, so I was like, nah. So I started taking Adderall, and then I was on it consistently from the ages of 10 to 20. But the effects of Adderall, as you continue to take it, basically it's like if your brain were a freight engine running at 100 miles an hour, when the Adderall wears off, it's as if that train has hit the brakes suddenly. And you know what happens with a freight train, like, all of those joints kind of like crash. It could go vertical, it could flip.
Yeah.
So what would happen is, in addition to the regular side effects, like I would, they would up my dosage and then I would lose 50 pounds in a year. or like I would skip lunch because I didn't feel like eating because it originally, Adderall in its original form was nicknamed Mommy's Little Helper. It was an appetite suppressant for housewives in the 50s.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
So
Me either.
yeah, I didn't know it either. And then like I was doing interviews for Damn Near Grown 5 years ago. Somebody told me, I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, it explained a lot, right? But yeah, so I think it you know, I'm on a different ADHD medication now, but Adderall was just like the come down was terrible.
I appreciate all you guys.
I was irritable. I snap on anybody. I'm dealing with the come down from Adderall while I'm like a hormonal teenager, so everybody's catching it. And you know, a lot of the experiences about writing that song come with, you know, I'm having suicidal ideations and talking to my mom about it. You know, I'm in the basement looking at the I-beams because it was exposed. It had an exposed ceiling, and I'm thinking about, you know, hanging myself from one of those I-beams, and it's just a lot of those memories are not happy ones. The memories I have from that time, my grades would be good, but then they'd fluctuate. So, you know, I was never on honor roll. I always wanted to be on honor roll. I was in middle school. I get to high school. I stopped doing as well in my classes. And eventually it just kind of became like a chemical. I don't know if you can be addicted to it, but it did become, you know, a sort of chemical dependency for me, where it was, you know, there was an entire semester of college where something had happened with my health insurance and I wasn't able to get Adderall at like the discounted rate, and I couldn't afford. So there was an entire semester, and that semester I was depressed. I didn't leave my room. I failed 3 to 5 classes I was taking in college that semester, and it was just very clear to me that, you know, Adderall is not good for me. It's not healthy for me. There may be other things I can do to kind of moderate my ADHD and accommodate for it, but that can't be one of those things, because if it gets to the point where I'm feeling like that, then it's the risk far outweighs the reward. So that's where that song comes from. And then also just knowing that there's, you know, mother's script, my other fist took another fix, like knowing that my mom is on medication, my medication is something I can even don't need to, because it's something that makes me feel more adequate as a human being. So that's kind of where that comes from. And yeah.
Word.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. That
really
was
appreciate that.
yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Everybody in the chat definitely appreciates your honesty and like your wholehearted answers too, man. We super appreciate it. This is what the platform's for, though. So appreciate you coming on. We're gonna end this call really quick, and then I'll send you guys both a link real fast, and we'll be back at it.
Okay.
Word. Okay. For sure.
Appreciate you guys sticking around here. We're gonna be right back at this thing. Oh, here we go. That was quick. There's one. Now I gotta just send the link to Josh now. So here we got this back. I make you bet I gotta switch around the names.
All right, yo, I'm here.
Awesome. I think Josh is coming back too.
Cool.
Yo.
Hey, we're back. Nice. That was an easy transition.
Worked out easy.
Perfect. So just kind of to piggyback on your last answer, How hard is it for you to like love yourself every day? Because I know for me, like, man, it's one of the toughest things in the world. I've personally had suicidal thoughts and things like that myself. Like I've been on the fucking edge, ready to jump off too. And like loving yourself is probably one of the toughest and most important things I think in the world. So how hard is that for you to do, and how important is it for you?
That's a hell of a question. I mean, first of all, I appreciate your honesty and your candor in sharing that as well, because I know that stuff is not, it's not even easy to mention in passing. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Definitely.
I think as far as for me, I think it took a long time. It took a really long time. And there was a point in time where I was living in Panama for a year. I was studying abroad when I was an undergrad.
Okay.
And it's actually where I met my wife.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
What's up?
Who she is not from Panama, but she happened to be there, and I met her doing Girls at a karaoke night at a bar. The less said about that, the better. But it's great because the less said about my karaoke, the better. The story's kind of crazy in a good way. So, I was down there, in about half the people who had been there that first semester with me were back in the States, and it was just me. And I had to figure out, I was like, all right, I'm here. There are like 5 other people here. I'm cool with them, but I want to go figure out how to meet other people by myself. And I think that, knowing that I could do that, because I think in hindsight, I only really saw any value in myself when other people saw value in me.
Okay.
So, like I live for affirmation and praise, still kind of do. Like it's something I'm working on. But it was something that when I was younger, without even realizing it, I was seeking that out as often as I could get it, because I didn't really feel like I got a lot of that at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of that, and certainly not from my peers. So as a result of that, I think my perception of self-love was very different than a lot of other people's. And I think the beginning of my journey toward being able to love myself started then, but it also took a couple relationships, a couple of breakups. It took, it took me living, in a $400 a month apartment in Logan Square, where the heat's off during the polar vortex, and I got to pay my rent in cash every month to the dude in the liquor store downstairs. Like it kind of took me going through struggles and coming out the other side, and then realizing that I have something to contribute to the world. And so I need to love that about myself. And so that's why MCing and rapping has always been a safe space for me, because I always knew from young that I was nice. I knew I had room to grow, and I knew I was trash when I was 11 or 12, but I knew that there was something there that could be harnessed into something better.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always loved that, is because that was the space I knew I could do my thing regardless, and other people's evaluations of me didn't matter, because I knew I was nice. And then it was just applying that same self-love that really only filtered itself through the prism of hip-hop into everything else. So it's still something I work on every day. It's still trying to figure out, still trying to figure out what self-care looks like, mm-hmm. and the difference between self-care and not to be melodramatic, but self-destruction, because oftentimes those can look very similar to one another.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, man, I mean, that's kind of, I would say like 10 years ago, and it's, it's just so fitting that it's, 10 years later, I'm getting married to somebody who I met on the beginning of that journey.
Yeah.
I got married to somebody who I met on the beginning of that journey. It's really beautiful. So
that's a dope story, man. That's awesome, man. Oh, you got any other questions, Josh? I don't want to overshadow anything you got going on. What you got over there?
I mean, I kind of want to add on to that, because I know when it comes to self-care and self-love. It's gonna always be um, that imbalance, trying to just to even acknowledge when it's needed or when it's even happening. That's a hard thing to do because it's just that self-realization. But with that being said, I feel like a lot of the good comes from a feeling you can get from whatever that may be. For a lot, it's music.
Mm-hmm.
And with the skills that you got, I just think, man, every time I hear you on any track, how do you pick your beats? How do you pick your music? Because the way that you come in, it's always dope because you can hear the niceness, but whatever you get whatever you get from the music that you mess with, that you choose to hop on, you can hear it. So where do you get that from? What do you listen to?
Word, thank you. Also, that segue, man, that was an incredible segue. That was
Yeah,
like
it
a
was.
3-point turn in an alley. I was like, that was good. That was good, man.
That's what's
Yeah, I
up.
mean, with the beats I pick, I think at first, and I actually just did a huge kind of beat purge at the beginning of last year where I just sent a hella beats back, even beats I bought. I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm gonna just send these back to the producers and be like, write it off. It's the cost of doing business. They're all good people. I'm happy I can support them anyway, but I can't really do anything with these beats because it was overwhelming. And then also, I think when I'm picking beats or I'm listening to beats, there are a couple of things that I consider. One is, obviously from a fan's perspective, do I rock with the beat? And then the secondary perspective, which is kind of the one that's like yes or no, um, is, do I hear myself rapping on this beat and it making for a compelling song? Because I can hear myself rapping over anything, but the song still has to be compelling. People have to be interested in it.
Word.
So, I think as far as my ear for beats or my beat selection, that's kind of what it comes down to. And then also making sure that the beats I'm rhyming over are things that are kind of true to me and my style. So, I don't wanna like Damn Near Grown, I think is an album. One of the things I still appreciate about it is I kind of had beats from every different chamber I rocked with and I sounded comfortable on all of them. But you still, have to be careful in terms of picking the beats you want to rhyme on because they still got to make sense for you. So if I can't rhyme over, if somebody wanted to throw me a feature, I wouldn't be mad at it. But, I can't rhyme over the same beats that, some of the West Coast, like SOB, RBE guys, if you listen to my project, you're not going to be hearing that. DJ Quick is one of the greatest producers ever, arguably top 5, arguably the greatest to ever come from the state of California. I don't see myself rapping over any of Quick's beats.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it is just is just really thinking to yourself like, all right, do I rock with this beat? And then can I hear myself over this beat? And I think I'm also really fortunate to be able to work with a core of producers where I don't have to be that guy saying send beats on Twitter, and no disrespect to people who do that because I think it makes for a lot of great songs and a lot of great connections. But I think for where I'm at, I want to just keep the circle as tight as possible. So I get to work with somebody like August Fanon, who's worked with Mock Hami and West Side Gun and Arm & Hammer, and I get to work with Messiah Music, and I get to work with Knows the Time, and I get to work with Golden Beats and Seb Severe and Solar 5 and Slime. Like, I just have like all of these people who I know and love, and Sav and Joseph Chilliams, people who I know and love who really, really rock with what I do. So I know that if I need to get something that sounds like this, I can go here. If I need to get something that sounds like this, I can go here. But the beauty of the one rapper, one producer project is I really get a chance to sit with the producer's catalog or stash of beats and, tune my ear to that. Now, my ear for production is different now than it was 10 years ago because my palate's expanded. So I think I have a better ear for beats now than I did 10 years ago. But at the same time, I also, just like I was saying before, want to make sure I stay true to my style. And I want to be able to come in on those beats like what you're talking about, Josh, where it's like, I have to be able to sound comfortable on those in order for the song to work. So that's pretty much how I pick my beats.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate that.
As far as the writing goes, are you ever in a box like I need to write a song by Friday, or like when you're in the studio, are you picking stuff up from like 5 years ago that like, okay, this shit from 5 years ago is gonna slide perfect here? Like, so how is it ever like the same, or does it change all the time? Like, how does that look for you?
The answer to that question is yes. So I've had like basically every writing process. I've tried it out. So I've tried to do the Biggie Wayne Hove thing where you write a rap in your head. It was dark. I got 4 bars in. It was trash. I've had the years I was walking around with notes in my phone that had like rhyme schemes on it. No actual bars, just rhyme schemes. So rhyming phrases. I had those years where I was doing crazy mental math with columns on a paper, breaking words down into syllables. And so really my process kind of changes from time to time. The only thing I can say about it that's consistent is, I think I find writing on my computer with the Wi-Fi off to be the most effective, just because sometimes my brain's moving at such high speeds that just like handwriting it is just kind of an inconvenience.
Okay.
So just to be able to like go in and then also to see things visually arranged on a page where I can rearrange things and swap things out or try out different rhyme schemes or whatever is something that's really helpful. Say that as of recently, the most helpful writing process has been I'm listening to music for an hour, and then I'm setting aside an hour and a half to just write. And at the end of that hour and a half, I'm done. It doesn't matter if I have a verse. It doesn't matter if I have a song. It doesn't matter if I have 2 songs.
Yeah.
At the end of that hour and a half, I'm done. So my writing process is pretty much just trying to structure things, trying to consume music so that it can inform what I produce. And then, a lot of times I'll go back and review things before I record just to make sure everything that's there needs to be there.
Word.
And that I'm not putting any filler in there, things of that nature. So yeah.
Cool. You got anything else, Josh? Anything written down? Anything piggybacking off of that one?
I was wondering, so after this whole pandemic thing clears up, whatever that may be, what's the future plans for you, Bang?
Repeat that one more time. Y'all kind of lagged on my end. Repeat that question for me real quick, Josh.
Oh, that's cool. What's the future plans after all this whole thing clears up for next year?
I got some plans for this year. So hopefully dropping a project in the 4th quarter that I'm very excited about. I just re-recorded it.
That's what's up.
And sent the vocal stems to the producer the other day.
Ooh, nice.
So and it's going to be my first time dropping a project. I'm in the middle of that. November is kind of like everybody's competing for those top 50 year-end list spots. Yep. So, it's my first time really throwing the hat in the ring in that respect. But I believe in the product that I'm about to put out. Going to be dropping a bunch of singles. Everything goes according to plan and according to schedule in October. Just because I haven't really been putting out a lot of music the past year. So not really anything since the album dropped, in spite of teasing a whole bunch of music. So I got work with, Nose in Time, something hopefully from Defcee, something hopefully from Golden Beats. I got a beat from my man Iceberg Theory. Shout out to him. That I'm trying to get a rapper who I really love and respect on. I don't want to say who it is until it's set in stone. But yeah, the future plans for me really, 2020 turned into an incubation year and I didn't know it. So 2021 is really going to be a year where there's a bunch of music coming out. Hopefully you hear songs with a lot of people who I've revered and admired for a long time. You know, I'm in the studio with Slime and Solar 5 all the time, and the music that we've been working on has been crazy. It literally, the last joint we did, it was just me and Solar 5 staring at each other across the room going, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, we were just like sitting there staring at each other. It just doesn't make sense.
I can't wait to hear this, man.
How did
I
we
can't
do
wait.
that?
That's
you know,
cool.
just knowing that I'm able to kind of have the freedom to make music with the people who I really love, it's been really dope. So, I mean, the things that I can talk about that are pretty much recorded for the most part, and I'm just kind of waiting on features. I've got an album with Messiah Music called Trapdoor that's going to drop next year. I've got an album with Golden Beats. And Messiah Music, if y'all don't know about Messiah Music, you definitely should, because he just did a joint with Makami and Earl Sweatshirt that's crazy. And if you got Tidal, you should go. Soon Jadu, if you got Tidal, you should definitely go peep that. And in addition to all of Messiah Music's back catalog with Arm & Hammer, with Billy Woods, with Quelle Chris, the music he did with Quelle Chris is crazy.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, me and Messiah Music got that coming next year. My album with Golden Beats on Legendary will be out next year on Filthy Records. Shout out to Filthy, shout out to Decay, shout out to DJ Sean Doe. The Def Prez album will be out next year.
Ooh, yes.
We're trying to figure out the right time to get into the studio and record, but the beats are ready, the bars are ready. We just need to lay that down.
Hell yeah.
And then we may be trying to get a couple features on that. And you know, Crash Prez and Knows the Time, just
it's like a lot of music.
Experts. I know, man. Look, I took the year off, bro. I'm
excited, man.
I let everybody breathe. I let everybody have to get back to the rapping. And so for me, it's also just dope to be able to sit and listen to people's music. People, again, I admire and respect, and to know that some of what I've got in store is either as good or better. And, you know, I don't talk like this when it comes to my music. So that's how you know, like, that's how I know that this is what it's going to be. So that it's going to be cold. So this year you can definitely hear joints. You'll hear me on joints from Iceberg Theory. You'll hear me on joints from my man Blood Money Perez out in Seattle. You know, you'll hear me on hopefully, you know, some things from my Wrecking Crew family out in Philly. So shout out to Perm Rock, shout out to Zilla Rocket, shout out Curly Castro, shout out Small Professor. You know, I'm just trying to stay active. I'm trying to keep the blades sharp. The DMs are closed for features because I got to finish writing all these projects I've been working on.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I'm really just, I think if I just stay the course, I wrote out the release schedule the other day. And I think that this is gonna, you know, the year's gonna end pretty well for me, and then next year, God willing, everything place in this country isn't on fire, and you know, we don't have a fascist dictatorship in the White House, but you know, those are a lot of big ifs, right? But you know, hopefully next year is the year that I've been working toward my whole career.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what's up.
That's good to hear. So everybody well, not everybody, but there's a couple people in the chat asking about the giveaway. So I'm gonna ask, I think, 2 more questions. I have 2 questions pertaining to the brand, the Talkin' Truth brand, and then after that, anybody that's listening right now in the Twitch chat, this is your chance for your $25 right now. The person who has the best question for Defcee is gonna get the $25, and we'll like panel it up, I guess. That we'll vote on who has the best question.
Damn.
Anybody in the Twitch chat again who's listening right now who can hear me, $25. Best question for Defcee is gonna get the $25.
Get paid asking them questions.
So
Get paid.
come up with a question.
Y'all
Best one in the chat.
Y'all can vote on that. Y'all can vote on that.
All right, it'll be me and Josh. It'll be me and
Somebody
Josh.
loses $25.
It'll be me and
Nope.
Josh. We'll vote for it. We'll vote for it. So pertaining to the brand, Talkin Truth is like really heavily surrounded by trees. The tree is in the logo. Trees represent growth. They represent a lot of shit, from the roots all the way to the fallen leaves. So that being said, what would be your favorite tree? Like, just from looks, from what you know they might represent,
Wow.
whatever. What would be your favorite tree?
This is gonna be really corny, just up front. But you know, I have a lot of tree imagery in my music for whatever reason. But the definitely the autumn, the colors in autumn that's my favorite. So whatever tree, when the colors change in autumn, it's all that bright, bold. That's my favorite time of year too. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just, you know, any tree in the autumn is my favorite tree for sure.
Hell yeah. What about you, Josh? I don't know if I ever asked you that. What's your favorite tree?
Oh man, I mean, there's just so many of them. Let's see.
There's a lot.
If I had to choose, it'll probably be one of them big old 80-foot to 200-foot trees that's in the rainforest. Whatever them things. Geisha trees.
Geisha trees.
Shit,
I'm gonna have to Google that now.
Trees. Them big ass trees. You know what I'm talking about?
Hell yeah. All right.
Big ass roots.
Nobody's asked a question in the chat yet. I don't think anybody wants $25. Shit, that's okay. I mean, we can give it away to somebody random, I guess. It's whatever. But last question for me in particular: what does truth mean to you?
Man, that's crazy. I mean, you know, there are all of these philosophical conversations about capital T truth versus small t truth, which I'm not going to get into because I'm not that smart. But I will say that I think for me, truth, honesty, sincerity, you know, I think hip hop, we always talk about who's real and who's not real. And I think as I get older, the thing I realize is that the realest people in the music are the people who are just true to themselves. And I think that kind of truth is a very powerful thing, especially right now when I get caught up in it too. There's very little nuance out in the world. So being able to just stick to your personal truth and to be able to tell that while also taking the facts into consideration you know, that's very important. And I think, you know, as a teacher, the thing that I'm starting to see is it's really important to discuss objective truths, statistics now more than ever, because you have a generation of young people who are basically being raised by the internet. And so their perception of what's true and what's not true is definitely more altered than ours may have been at that age. Damn. So that's what truth means to me too. It's just like, did it really happen? Are you really the person you say you are? Is the story that you're telling accurate, or is it a story somebody else experienced? If so, you gotta make sure that you're differentiating that for people. I think all of that stuff is really important when you're talking about truth.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. We did get a question from chat too. It's only one, so we got a winner for $25, and he was gonna be the one I was gonna give it to anyway because he's been a supporter for such a long time. So it just makes sense that he was the only one to ask a question. Thank you so much, Foolish. I appreciate you, man. Just Instagram message me. We'll get you your $25 tonight. Whenever you got like Venmo or PayPal, whatever it is, I'll get you $25. Appreciate you stopping by. His question was, career-wise, what experience has stuck with you the most over the years?
Say that stuck with me the most over the years. What experience?
Yeah.
And then career-wise, I'm guessing in terms of music.
I think so. If you heard that, Foolish, do you wanna?
I mean, he could clarify. I'll just run with the music answer.
For sure.
I mean, it was a big deal. It'd be hard to single out one single experience. So I'll just give a few. I think it was really cool to get a scholarship for rapping. That was something that was pretty awesome. It was dope to be able to travel the country and travel the world, to be 19 years old and rapping in London, all over London was dope to be able to, you know, anytime I've been able to travel has been a special experience. And I think You know, if we're talking about in terms of my career, I mean, obviously, you know, being able to be in the same rooms with people I've always looked up to. But if you want to talk about just hip hop in general, when I was living in Panama, not to get back there again, but you know, when I was living in Panama, I think sometimes when we're in countries like the United Kingdom or the United States or Canada, these countries that may have these established music industries and music communities, I think it's very easy to take hip hop for granted and its power for granted. So when I was in Panama, the thing that always stuck with me was watching how hip hop moved down there. You know, there was a group of guys who literally just, and this is 2010, they would just get together in the park and freestyle on a regular basis. You know, they would just cipher all the time in Spanish. There would be b-boys breaking in the park. You know, I met this guy who was a rapper who had basically been on the road with the Far Side, who lived in Panama. He had like an ASCAP badge that he kind of wore like it was a chain, like just the song ASCAP, like the publishing, and talking to me about how he, you know, they used to sit on top of their building to catch the signal from the Army-based radio station so that they could listen to hip hop. They used to, you know, they used to hustle just for tapes. They used to hustle for money and tapes from the soldiers. Like, that's something that's definitely stuck with me for sure. All of that stuff is definitely stuck with me.
Man, that's crazy hearing that, because it's like hearing people's experiences of how they even heard hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy hearing them having to pick up a radio signal to get a glimpse of hip hop. That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
that's dope.
And it's also just like, you know, we did that, just the lightweight version of it when we were kids. You know, if you wanted to listen to Power 92, but you didn't live in the radius of the city, you know, you had to go, you had to, you know, get into some, you had to see how flexible that antenna was about to get in order to catch that signal. So, you know, just being able to relate to that as well, and then to just understand that the magic of what we do as people who participate in hip hop culture is something that in the States you take for granted, but when you go somewhere that has less access to that culture, you're really able to see how beautifully it resonates and just how many lives it's changed and how it enriches so many people. And that's the thing is like, you know, I could talk about different things I've done in my career, people I've opened for, people I've had the opportunity to write with and share space with and share a conversation with. But the most impactful thing I can even think about when it comes to my career has just been the power of hip hop, what it's been able to do for me, what it's been able to do for people I love, and what it's continued to do for the world. Because when you think about it, hip hop is in a space now where there's literally something for everybody, and everybody can gravitate towards something that they love. And that's never, you know, and it's all readily accessible. And I don't know if there's ever been another time in the history of this culture where that's been the case. So, you know, no matter what is going on in the world at large, as long as there's still a world, there's still going to be hip hop, and it's going to continue to save and enrich people's lives. And I'm very fortunate to be one of those people who benefited from that.
Shit, we're fortunate to have experienced your art and can, you know, been able to sit down with you today and have a chat with you, man. This is, I mean, it won't be it won't be the only chat we have. We plan on making these streams, you know, go more than just a one-time thing. So we'll definitely be able to catch back up again at some point. But like, thank you so much for everything you've done for hip hop, for the kids of Chicago, for YCA, for fucking, man, just talking to us, man. This is awesome. Like, keep us going every day. Like, people like you literally like keep me going every day, give me a purpose in life. So appreciate you so much, man.
I mean, that means the world to me, because, you know, it's good to know that this can do something for somebody other than myself. I think it's easy to forget that.
Hell yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that. It really touches me to hear that. And thank you to you and Josh for always being so supportive, even when, you know, like it really felt like y'all were two of the only people who were really staying in tune. I really appreciate it and I'm grateful for the constant support over the years. And, you know, Definitely when some of this unreleased music is ready, y'all will be getting some previews for sure. And anytime, and anytime y'all will have me, anytime you want me on, you know, we could talk about hip hop, we could talk about whatever. I'm definitely down for that, for sure.
Hell yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. We'll definitely catch up soon, and thank you again for coming on, man. Take it easy.
No doubt. Peace, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Hell yeah. You sticking around, Josh? You leaving?
Hang on, let me figure this out. There we go. Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I'm sticking around.
Hell yeah, man.
Hey, man, that's the dude right there. That's just good peoples, man.
That's my guy. Yeah, that was dope.
Peoples.
That was like my first real conversation with him. I'd like said what up to him. I think like you ran into him at the show and you were talking to him. You had to hop into an Uber, and I was like, "Hey, what up?" And then, like that was the only time I had talked to him. So, yeah, I love having like my first organic conversations with people on the stream, bro. And I think that's like one of my favorite things about the stream is having those first chats with people. I thank you for coming on, man. Like, I appreciate you.
It's very comfortable, and it was cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Cool. Thank you to everybody who, yeah, for real. I need to get a dab in as well. This guy's got his shit loaded up, man. What you dabbing on over there? The white cookies?
Them white cookies.
Hell yeah. Yo,
look, I figured it out too. With this rig, I'm not supposed to pick it up. It's supposed to stay on a flat surface. What? That's what caused that heating pad to.
That's goofy as hell. That don't make any goddamn sense.
Stupid as fuck.
That's really dumb. Damn, Rosie's out there looking for parking, bro.
Oh shit.
8:15 at night. That shit's hard, bro. I might have to go help her with parking. I should probably actually end the stream and go help her with parking, honestly.
I gotta figure out food too, man.
Dude, I'm hungry, but I can't eat this late. That would be just havoc on my fucking digestive system, and I'm probably gonna go to bed
how's
sooner
that going,
than later.
man?
Bro, today was like
better?
a roller coaster. I felt like my chest was on fire all day. I was asleep until like 2:30 p.m., bro.
Damn.
I was in and out of the shower like 5 times this morning and afternoon, just like trying to fucking feel better, dude. That shit sucks. There's just days that are just like like I know the whole day is gonna suck. Like,
and I'm sorry to hear it, man.
It is what it is, man. We had the interview to look forward to, so I had some hope. I had some bright light. there was some light at the end of the tunnel. Yo,
you'll
again,
be both, babe.
Thank you guys for thank you guys in the chat for stopping by. Stock, Foolish, Cole, Takorish. I think it looks like they might have just been in here for the giveaway, but that's cool. Hopefully they enjoyed the stream anyway. If you weren't here just for the giveaway and for some hip hop chat, we appreciate you. If you were here for just the giveaway, you're suspect right now, but hopefully you'll come back. Oh, shit, suspect. Man. Can't be having suspect people in here. That's okay, though. You getting that dab on, bro. I'm going to go help Rosie get the park on. I'm going to see where she's at. Thank you again for helping me with this interview. We'll definitely touch base soon. If everybody else in the chat is still here, please know we're doing another interview on Thursday. We got a double feature on Thursday, bro. We got Asthmatic at 7 p.m. and then Enlighten is coming back on the stream with a dude named Miles Hood at 8 p.m. So we got the double feature on Thursday, bro.
Look, real quick about Enlighten too. I've been bumping one of these tracks called True Love. I think it's one of his most recent releases.
Yeah, there.
That shit fire, man. If y'all ain't hit that one up yet,
go tell him that on Instagram. Go let him know that on Instagram, Josh. Let him know. Let him know that one's fire. Thank you again, Foolish, for coming by. Make sure you hit up my IG DM, and we'll figure out how to get you your $25 ASAP, my guy. Appreciate you. Been supporting the stream for a while. Hope you're okay over there, my guy. I'm gonna head out now and go help Rosie, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Take it easy. Y'all. Later, Foolish.